Okay, now we have to talk about some real procedures. We have to talk about some real plans and some real strategies that we need to utilize if we're going to go in there and take back the country, starting with the Republican Party, as I've been saying. You have to start in your local area. It's going to be it's going to go street to street, door to door. That's where it starts. In our area, we have what are called committee people. Committee people go out and they are selected by the sitting party, the sitting local party in the township. We're starting with the township. They have wards and precincts. A precinct has a captain, and a ward has a ward leader. And the precincts are made up of the committee people, and they vote for the ward leaders. The ward leaders then become part of the county system. They then help the county select a slate of Republican candidates for the various political offices. Congressman, the big one. They also support the state's senator, and they also support all the state and all the local positions and the state positions. You have your county board, you have your county councilman, and then you have your attorney, your local attorneys. You have all these people who run the counties and have a lot of power and say as to how the voting system is going to be managed or monitored. So you know how that's going to go, right? You want the right people in charge of this. And it starts with the local areas. Now, the ward leaders are usually very political. Usually you don't become a ward leader unless you know somebody, unless you're very well known and very well accepted by the people. If you're a township leader, that usually is a position handed down to you from your family. They usually don't give them up. They're very hard to get into. This person normally has a history in the party. They're good people. They're not all bad people. The ones I know have always been good people, but they have their ways. They have their secret meetings. They have their back room deals. They have to maintain their power, and they go around and they recruit their own committee people, and they recruit their own ward leaders to make sure they stay in power. And the ward leaders get their own committee people, and they get people they know, people they trust, usually people that have no experience and don't know anything about politics, because they're the ones that have the most are the ones that are the least skeptical and are not experienced enough to know what's going on. And they feel like, great, I'm a committee man, yeah, I'm a committee woman, and they go around door to door with their little petitions and little books, and they, try to talk you into supporting this particular candidate. Here's the thing: where do these candidates come from? Where do the state senators and state representatives? Where do they come from? Where does the congressman, if you're in a congressional district, where does that candidate come from? And most of the time, I don't know who these people are. I've been in this Republican Party since I was 18 years old, and very rarely do I see a candidate come along who I know. They're usually a stranger. Where do they come from? They come out of nowhere. Somebody has to pick them. Somebody has to convince them to run. Then what they do, and I've seen this done, is they'll go around and they'll pick the opposition. See, in other words, they self-primary, and they pick people who can't possibly stand up against this guy, who's going to be, first of all, he knows in advance what to say as a speech already, and they'll pick you, knock at the door, and they'll say, hey, Joe, you want to run, you want to throw your hat in the ring and run for the state senator. And the guy say, yeah, sure, I'll come out there. You come out there, you put your suit and tie on, you run out there, honey, do I look good? You run out there, and you get out there and at the general meeting, and you get blasted away. The guy comes out there and he's got all the statistics and all these great ideas, and he's all ready. So the one's already picked. He's already been picked, and of course the ward leaders who are voting to support this slate are going to go for the guy who has been already pre-selected. And usually they're told in advance, we're going with this guy. You don't want to go against the party, especially if you have, if your job and your position in the community and your notoriety and all these things are dependent on your position within that party. It's a natural human thing. We can't all get away from it. It really is what it is. I myself have been in positions where I was support of the party. I always was, and I still am to a large extent. But now I realize A lot of it was wrong. A lot of it was wrong. We really put the wrong people in power, and they failed us because we're not putting leaders in. We're not putting real leaders in. We have to really be more careful in vetting these leaders and catching them when they're coming in. Who's bringing them in? These county leaders, these ward leaders, and these the general political the county Republican Party are bringing these people in, and usually they have somebody who's already been pre-selected, and somehow that decision is made without anybody's knowledge, and it's already fixed for that person to come in. And oftentimes that person is not a leader. They don't want leaders in there. They don't want. I've seen leaders, and they usually get in trouble because they open their mouths like Trump. They open their mouths up. They say what they feel. They tell the truth about certain things, and they lose a lot of support. There's a lot of mayhem that goes on from that. I can tell you stories about that if I ever have time, about how what happened over the years that I've been in this county and been involved in politics. Unfortunately, this is the system. We have to get involved. It's going to take a long time. It's going to be a lot of hard work. That's the story. The name of this blog. It's going to be a hard work. It's going to be hard work ahead to fix this system. We're going to have to find a way to bring leaders in and how to vet them and how to get them on the ballots. I don't know how to do that. I don't have any idea. I mean, I have ideas, but I couldn't possibly tell you what they should be. We'd have to decide for ourselves in each of our counties. But it has to be something like getting people to throw their hats in the ring, getting an open forum to get people to come to a debate, to make themselves known. They can do it they can make a video, make a recording, something like I'm doing right now, and explain why they want to run, explain what they intend to do, and we can vet very clearly, very, very easily whether this person is really for real or not. You can usually tell by the way they talk and by the kinds of things that they're saying and the way they're saying things whether or not you can trust them. And you also want to look at their resumes. Who do they work for? Where do their children go to school? It's important. Not that it's bad, but it's important to know where they're coming from. This country is run by elites, okay? Elite people who see themselves as special. You only have to look at the Strzok and Page emails to understand who these people really are and what they think of themselves, to understand what we're talking about. It's a serious problem. Even Page, talking to her boyfriend Trump, Strzok, was talking about our society, our special society, our secret society, whatever she was calling it. What's going to happen to us if we let people like Trump get into power? The smelly Walmart shoppers. They were concerned. They were really worried. And Strzok said, no, we're going to stop it. Because they don't want to give up power. They know what it means. It means their kids are going to have to start working at McDonald's to make a few bucks to help pay for their tuition, and their kids they're going to have to work 9-to-5 jobs, and they're going to have to worry about things that we worry about every day, and they don't want that. They don't want them for themselves, and they don't want them for their families, and they're going to fight to keep their power. And that's the way it is, guys. And that's why we have a problem right now, because a lot of these people are being supported by large corporations and large and very wealthy people who are making right now a lot of money, not only with China, but also other countries around the world. They're doing business with other people, friends and enemies alike. And they don't care if they're helping other countries to prosper at the expense of our country, because they don't care. It's too hard for them to figure it out. Trump came up with ways in which he came up with win-win situations for a lot of these countries, especially in the Middle East. He came up with ways where we could both prosper. You can prosper and we can prosper. We can do it. There's nothing wrong with doing business with companies overseas. There's nothing wrong with having businesses or connections overseas. Nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, that's a good thing. But not at the expense of the American people. And bringing people in here, cheap labor and all that. This kind of stuff is I don't know if these people realize that their prosperity is only going to be short-lived. I guess they understand. It can't be that stupid, but I know they're probably a little desperate. I think they're a little bit desperate. I think they're a little bit worried that if we don't stop this now, we're not going to be able to pay our mortgages. We're not going to pay these big tuitions for our kids in these Ivy League institutions, or in some cases, we're not going to have enough money to bribe the registrars of these Ivy League institutions to get our kids advanced placement in the schools. We know that's going on, and that's been going on for a long time. That just didn't start like a couple of years ago. That's been going on since I was in college. Okay, people making donations to the colleges and getting advanced placements for their kids, and all of a sudden the kids, on dean's list, and he never studied for a test, never partying all the time. We got to wonder, well, he's kind of rich, and his parents just gave a large donation to the school. It happens, guys, and it's the way it is. This is really our downfall right now. This is what's happening, and we see it happening, and we have to. I don't know if we could stop it. I don't know, but we got to try. Going out in the streets, and this business of like I talked about the Trump rallies, and that's a good start. It's good to see. It's a lot of fun. I love the Trump rallies. I'm not going to lie to you. I love watching them. I'm totally into it, but I realize it's not going to win the country back. It's not, because they control the voting machines. They're able to get people to put bad voting machines in the system. They're able to get people to watch truckloads of ballots coming in from New York, pre-printed with Biden on it, and not say anything about it, not even care, not even want to investigate, because they know that if they do that, they'll be called racist, they'll be called white supremacists. So they don't want anything bad that be said about them. They're scared to death they're still scared to death of the media, even though it's been hobbled and been crippled by Trump. They're not as powerful. No one watches these news programs anymore, and these talking heads have very little say anymore. But you have a new group of people coming in, and they're screaming, pedophile this, we're going to go after this, the Pizzagate this, those are serious problems. Human trafficking has always been a problem for thousands of years in position where people in positions of power with no accountability and no oversight, they're going to do things really bad. Okay. You only have to look back in, the last century to see what happens when you have a one-party system in power, and they get to do whatever they want to do without any oversight, without any checks and balances. And we're headed that way. Okay, so what has to happen is we got to take the party back and start putting leaders in that are going to stop this sort of thing. Like I said, I'm not looking for right-wing conservatives necessarily, or staunch Trump supporters. I'm looking for people that support the Constitution. They can be Democrats, they can be liberals, I don't care. If they support the Constitution, they support free and fair elections, if they support the rule of law, that's the place to start. And you've got to vet these people. You've got to find out who these people are and get them on the ballot, convince them to run, get them on the ballot and support them. Use that MAGA power, those rallies and those supports to support these candidates and make them feel like we got their back, and they're not going to be strung out there and standing out there by themselves, having committed themselves to this country, and then we leave them hanging, and we can't support them, we can't help them, and they fall. That's what's going to happen if we don't do this. So we have to start getting involved in our local GOP organizations first. Let's start the ball rolling. Let's communicate with one another. Let's share information. Let's tell our stories. And like we had 10,000 people come forward with these affidavits. Let's tell our stories about what's going on inside these local GOP organizations. Where are these candidates coming from? Who's supporting them? Who are they? Can we trust them? Who and from now on, a guy who's running for for Senate or in West Virginia or Virginia has is going to impact all of us. We want to know who that person is, or if a state senator is going to run in Georgia, we got to know that person could be the difference between winning or losing an election for all of us. If that person is not a leader, if that person allows voter fraud to go forward because that person is not a leader. So we need to do this. We need to start this now. I have a general idea of how this should work, but I don't have all the details ironed out, unfortunately, and I'm trying to figure it out. And we should start this ball rolling. We really should. So God bless America. Don't give up hope. And let's keep at this. Let's not give this up.